Hey, so I'm going to talk about developmental aging associated with type 2 diabetes. This is like the fifth time I've tried to record this video because I keep saying something really dumb. So what I'm going to do is break this down by typical experiences during the stage of life, and then I'll include how diabetes impacts these areas. And then after that, I'll go over similarities and differences between the age groups. Surprisingly, I've realized that the effects of diabetes in each developmental stage turned out to have a lot of similarities. It just kind of goes to show that we are more alike than different, and we can always find a way to relate if we really try to. And to start during childhood and adolescence, physical health should almost be at a peak. This is when our bodies are healing faster and they just kind of bounce back a little quicker. So kids and teens typically have an overall more active lifestyle. Schools allow more time for recess and PE, even though I feel like they should actually have more. But there are sports teams and club opportunities to be physically active. Type 2 diabetes would be extremely detrimental. It would decrease activity level, make it difficult to keep up with peers, and increase the risk of other health complications. So overall social patterns during childhood and adolescence involve high levels of peer interaction. This is the time when kids learn to make friends and learn conflict resolution and just those social norms and those roles that you need to be able to know as you get older. At this time, peer groups and peer models are highly influential. During childhood, parents also highly influence social groups, but as they age and go into adolescence, parental influence really becomes less and less. And then their peer influence becomes more and more. So the impact of diabetes on social functions include potential social isolation, and isolation could be caused just by not being able to keep up with peers the same way that they did previously, or isolation due to peers having actually leaving them out or being bullied, or even self-isolation because of embarrassment from maybe by weight or just from having diabetes. And friends and peer groups directly influence lifestyle. So peers demonstrating healthy eating habits and involvement in exercise influence a child or adolescent with diabetes to model the same behavior. This unfortunately goes for the negative behaviors too. So if a peer is modeling healthy, unhealthy habits and beliefs, the individual with diabetes is more likely to mimic that same behavior and potentially decline in health even more. So emotional and cognitive experiences during childhood and adolescence typically include learning skills to become more independent. However, childhood and adolescence, their parental lifestyle and the behavior of the parent plays a huge role in emotional and cognitive well-being. For example, if the parent is eating healthy, living a healthy lifestyle, making great food choices, speaking about the health and nourishment of their body, the children are more likely to mimic those same behaviors and have the same beliefs. Diabetes during this time could cause a decrease in self-esteem due to weight, especially in adolescence. We all know that there's so much pressure to be a certain weight or dress a certain way, look a certain way, have your hair a certain way. So if you're an adolescent with diabetes and you're overweight, that's definitely you're going to have a decreased self-esteem. Cognitively, children and adolescents may not even fully grasp what diabetes is and how it can impact their life forever if they don't change some of their behaviors. So that pretty much sums up the childhood and adolescence. And now we're going to go into early and middle adulthood. So during this stage, individuals are typically less physically active compared to how they were in childhood and adolescence. Many adults work and sit at desks all day. They have slowed down, but are not completely just sedentary. Most are still pretty busy balancing work, family, just life, and so on. Physical activity is more challenging to fit into daily life, and socially, early and middle adults wear many shoes and have many social roles. So they can be coworker, spouse, parent, friend, son or daughter, and then moving into middle adulthood, many experience becoming grandparents. So the onset of type 2 diabetes is actually typically in middle adulthood, but we are seeing it become more prevalent earlier on each year. Physical impacts of diabetes include decreased activity level, increase for other medical conditions, and then it's a real threat for a decreased life expectancy if you don't change what you're doing. So socially, diabetes could cause role strain and interfere with the ability to fulfill those expected roles. It could also cause isolation, depression, anxiety. If you're constantly feeling like you want to isolate yourself because of your weight or because of diabetes, also having your doctor constantly remind you need to lose weight, you need to eat a certain way, that can definitely cause anxiety and stress. It may be very difficult to change lifestyle and routine, but peer support is really important, and it can be done. And finally, moving into older adulthood, first it's important to kind of look into this is when you start to think about adults going into assisted living homes and nursing homes. So it's important to know that between 65 and 74 years of age, most of those people live in the community. But older adulthood is when you do start to see that transition into the assisted living or nursing homes. Failing health, advancing age, along with functional and behavioral impairments are all associated with your likelihood of institutionalization. During this stage, physical health already tends to decline and the effects of aging begin to appear. More individuals begin having other medical conditions and complications. And on top of those typical aging changes, diabetes will just increase and further and faster decline the health of that individual. So physical activity has already typically declined, and many older adults become pretty sedentary. They're already, they're retired. They don't necessarily have as many things they have to do. Diabetes adds extreme difficulty engaging in physical activity. So if you already started to decline in the physical activity and then you have onset of diabetes, it's gonna be very, very challenging. You have to deal with obesity, skin and wound complications, lack of endurance, weakness, all become an issue, and then taking care of themselves safely may also begin to become difficult. So our textbook actually states that functional physical requirements for an older adult to live independently in the community include mobility to walk a little over 1,200 feet. And this is to be able to go on errands in your community safely. A reasonable gait speed and the ability to carry about a 6 to 7 pound object or package. Also, the ability to navigate stairs, curbs, slopes or inclines, gravel, grass, and being able to maintain postural transition control. And that includes turning your head, looking up or down, reaching, moving backwards, and twisting. And with that being said, it's easy to see how diabetes can cause you to not be able to do all of these required activities that you need to be able to live on your own, and how diabetes actually directly influences whether an adult has to go into a nursing home or assisted living home. So during older adulthood, social interactions change. Many times it becomes difficult to keep up with friends and family members. Individuals during this stage are retired, like I said earlier, and their children now have jobs and families. There's typically a loss of support system and sense of you don't know your self-worth. You're not needed as much. Often spouse or friend death can occur. There aren't as many opportunities to socialize and meet friends. Social roles change. Many feel not needed, unable to keep up with older roles, like older social roles. So being with going into an assisted living or nursing home, there's a huge loss of privacy. So they're not able to take care of themselves. They need to move into this assisted living home, and then that's a huge change from going from living on your own to now every time you get up and move, somebody is there, and then you don't get to control everything you used to in your life. Prevalence of depression increases, and even more so if you're suffering from a chronic illness like diabetes. So the last part of the assignment was talking about using engagement in occupations to support older adults' quality of life, satisfaction, and self-worth, and would honestly be a little different from other age groups, but I feel like there are a lot of similarities just because it is still OT and we do still focus on some of the same things. So as occupational therapy practitioners, we have that unique ability to be able to work on skills in a way that's meaningful to the patient, and that's for all age groups. So that really isn't any different from whether you're working in early intervention or all the way to like a nursing home. So let's see. But basically, OTs have the ability to ask them what they want to do, what is meaningful to them, and then how we show them and work with them to get them to where they want to be. Being able to participate in the things that you want to participate in, that definitely adds a sense of like quality of life and self-worth, all of those things. For one part of their life, somebody is actually asking them and letting them to control something. So if they move into like a nursing home, they don't have a lot of say over what they're doing, but an OT can say, hey, what do you want to work on, and let's get there, and this is how we'll do it. So I think that's pretty much it. So thanks.